Alright guys, the next part of the process is to cut the covering off of this part that sticks down into the model, and this little section right there to expose the wood only. So let's try that real quick. Well, not real quick, but let's try it, huh? That way the glue will be able to glue to the wood only. Let's see here. Try not to cut too hard at all, because you'll get into the wood really easy. If I can just get it started somewhere. Kind of know where we're at. There we go. Once we get the film off, there's a little hole. There's a little hole right here we need to cut out, that this piece sticks down in when it all kind of locks together. And then it wants us to put the wings on and eyeball it for alignment before we get to any glue. So we got quite a bit to go before we get to the gluing. Alright, there's that. Straight edge here. My favorite little popsicle sticks to stir the epoxy. Get it going, you know, you can get it off, but this stuff really sticks on there when they cover them. That's for sure. Maybe if I had some little tweezers or something. And once again, trying to do this in front of the camera makes it a little more difficult. Make sure we're not pulling it off the other side too, you know. Alright, so there's that. Then get this little bugger off. Almost got it. Come on now. Alright, so we need to strip off the covering like so, and then there's a little hole right here it wants us to get only. All of it will be cut off eventually. Well, not all of it, but all this in the center. But for right now, it says just this hole. Come on now. And I'm gonna try to go flying this Sunday. Said it's gonna be in the high 50s, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to take the beaver out after it's all put back together now. After it's a little crash scadent, and then of course my favorite 300. Really itching to get out and go flying, so I hope the weather's true to that. 53 is very, very, very doable. There we go. Hang tight. Alright, then it's wanting us to just test fit this for a minute, to make sure everything's going to fit before we do any more surgery on this beautiful covering. See how that snapped together like that? And then in the directions, it shows us how to get all this square. The first thing we need to get square is this. I think the vertical stabilizer half right here, it needs to be completely flush with the back so that the rudder will have contact on this part down here, the fuselage, plus all this here. And then we're going to get part of the elevator and horizontal stabilizer straightened out. Alright, I'm going to get all this lined up real quick and we'll be right back. Alright, so we got the film cutaway on the bottom of the vertical stabilizer, plus we got the hole cut in this horizontal piece, just enough to fit this for temporarily to line things up. Then I forgot to mention that we also had to cut the hole for the wing tube, plus where the wing screw mount goes. I haven't cut the hole for the servo lead or wires yet, but it wants us to mount the wing right now so that we can line up everything before we glue it in. So this will be my first time putting the wing on. All right, I figured out the puzzle. There was one more little film that had to be cut out for this little peg right here on the back to go in. Okay, I didn't cut that hole deep enough for that back peg. You know, it's got the wing tube, then it's got these two locks that come in, then there's two little pegs in the back. And I just didn't have them cut all the way deep enough. So it says to get the wings in there correctly, which obviously took a little bit, but hey, when it's your first time, it's your first time, right? And get them in there, and then we're going to eyeball the rear. All right. See if I can flip this over without breaking anything. Now we can get technical and we can get a string and try to line up everything. And we may or may not do that. Right now we're gonna eyeball it like it says and see what it looks like. What do you guys think? And then I'm gonna take a good look at it. All right, I'm gonna put it on pause and get this thing eyeballed real quick before we glue it in. All right, what it has us doing is it wants to see, it has put it all together to see if this is higher than the wing or lower than the wing, if they're perfectly dead on, like looking down the scope of a rifle. And it's actually helping me to look through this camera. And the directions clearly say that if it is off by a millimeter or less, then just to do a little sanding on the wood to drop one of the edges. But what I'm seeing is good enough for me. So that's where we're going to leave it. And now we're just going to make sure that this is perfectly square, you know, that the measurements are exact. We're going to square that up. So that's good. Hang tight. All right, now that we know that it's level with the wings back here, that we don't need to do any sanding to do anything back here, I've done some measuring to make sure that this part is equal on both sides, and as well as being square. And a lot of it is the squareness is kind of eyeballing it, unless you've got a different triangle. But these kits are so precise that if you get this square right down here, you're dead on the money. It even says that in the manual, that just depending on how picky you want to be, you know, you really don't need to. It says the stab is pretty much locked in and self-aligned with the fuselage, but there is a little free play. If striving for perfection, you could rotationally, wow, that's a word, rotationally align the stab as follows. Tie a loop around one end of a 48-inch long non-elastic line and and basically get this thing perfect. Well, in my case, let's say we got it perfect. The first bump, putting it in the car, or the first hard landing, it's not going to be perfect anymore. So the manual says if you get this square back here, you're good to go. So, but do check the levelness. And we know that our level's good, and I've measured and I have it the same distance. We're not worried about this right now. And then we're going to take a marker or a pen or something and draw some lines, and then we're going to cut the covering away right in here. So let's do that.